Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast, Fear Fighter. I am your host, Shannan Mondor. Today's episode is a continuation of my series, You Are Not the Only One. I was brought forth to do this series because during my healing from my addiction of alcohol, there were so many times that the universe had brought me to silence. And during those times is when I learned so many things about myself, and I was guided. I was guided to talk openly about my past, my abuse, my addiction, and to speak my truth. From those moments of silence is when we learn, we grow, and then we teach, and then we help others. Today, I have a very special guest by the name of Patricia Meier. Welcome, Patricia. How are you?
I'm great, Shannan, and thanks for having me on your podcast.
I'm so excited for you to share your story. So we're just going to jump right into this. So what brought you to your silence?
Okay, well, in 2005, I was a busy working mother of four, married, two collies, ADHD rampant through my kids and my husband, like an extremely busy life, and also working for a Crown Corporation here in, I'm in Regina, Saskatchewan, so I worked for the Crown Corporation, the SaskTel. And I was in kind of a non-traditional role. I was the dispatcher for Southern Saskatchewan, so mostly men in that group, and trying to, be one of the boys. Focused too heavily on work. My job would have me have my family sitting at the table waiting to start dinner, and me on the phone with an angry customer, in evenings, and missing half my son's birthday party because, again, on the phone with a customer. Just really not the work-life balance that I would have liked to have had. In November of 2005, my daughter, and I should say I have three sons and one daughter. And so my daughter, who was not quite 4 at the time, was suffering with we thought maybe it was an ear infection. She was getting headaches, and her balance was off. And so we made an appointment. I took her to our family doctor. And he right away recognized that this is not normal. It's not normal for 4-year-olds to have headaches. So he booked us in with a pediatrician who saw her and immediately said, we need to do a CAT scan. We need to do possibly an MRI, see what's going on here. So I was still thinking, this is just an ear infection and they're overreacting. So that this happened really quickly. So the first doctor's appointment, the second doctor's appointment, and then Monday we were at the hospital. The tests were taking, the scan was taking a lot longer than I expected, and I expected to go back to work. So my husband stayed there with my daughter, and I went back to work because, it's a busy job. Mm-hmm. And I got the phone call that I needed to get back there. They found something. This was really serious, and I needed to get back to the hospital immediately. So I left my very busy job, and I did not return for 14 months because she was diagnosed with a glioblastoma. That's a brain tumor at the base of the skull. And for the next 14 months, I learned what was really important in life. And that was my family and slowing down. And I was lucky enough to be with her for the whole time. So it took the biggest of life, like it was catastrophic, to my only daughter. And I was the kind of woman who, my girlfriend is a public health nurse, and she said to me, I've never seen somebody want a daughter more than you. And I had 3 boys, my oldest are all boys, and then finally this beautiful little girl. So it was just, it just brings you to your knees.
Mm-hmm. 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 So what was the process that you went through once you were done your work? She was diagnosed, and what was the whole transition? What took place in your household?
Well, our household was madness. We this happened, as I said, it happened at the end of November, or like the end of November. We ended up in Calgary. So in our province, there was no sick children's hospital at the time. So Calgary, Alberta is about 8-10 hour drive away. We had to go to the sick children's hospital there, had to have my mom take care of the boys, and Alex and I ended up going back to Calgary for 8 weeks while she had chemotherapy and radiation, where my husband, who is now my ex-husband, but my husband stayed with the kids, with the boys back in Regina. So it was like crazy. I mean, I had to grow so much. Because I'd never even really driven in Calgary before. I mean, when we would go someplace else, he would do all the driving. And so, this was, back in, like I said, 2005, 2006, Dora the Explorer was big. So Alex and I were like Dora, we had our backpack and we had our map. We didn't even have GPS, and we found our way around Calgary. So, it was the being still, being patient, letting go of all the things that I thought were so very important, the work and the getting, being accepted into the old boys club, and all of that stuff just ground to a halt. But the amazing things that happened is, all of the beautiful things, all of the acts of kindness. It felt like every act of kindness I had ever done in my life came pouring back to me during this time. People just, stepped up to support and to do things for us, to be there for us. It was amazing. And when we were in Calgary, this was before, the social media was really big. So there was no Facebook to update people. And I was updating people through email. So people were, reaching out, what's going on? Tell us what's going on. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to tell this story over and over again. So I will do one little newsletter once a week to update you on what's going on. And then please tell me what's going on at home, because, this is a lot here. People said to me, your email meant so much to me, your strength, Alexandra's strength, your whole family. You're such a great writer. You should write a book on this. So it took me 15 years, Shannan. But I finally published it in April of 2022. So, and my book is called Forever 5, and it's the adventures of the ladybug hunter and all the lessons that I learned from her very short life, the strength, and just the shift, the huge shift that it made in me, and what's important. And, as you said, what you need to slow down and not take for granted, because life is ticking along and you think you have forever, and you think you have all this time to spend with your kids and with your family, and then all of a sudden you don't.
Right. And that was the flow of the next question, is what, through this whole process, it's so tragic, you did lose your baby girl, and what did you learn from this total process? It's so hard to imagine. So what is it that you want to share with people that you learned? Because there are so many people out there that are going through this exact same thing right now.
Oh, there's a lot of things that I learned in this experience. It deepened my spirituality and belief in, we choose our lives, we choose our parents, we choose our lessons. I'd like to share one story about when we were in Calgary. She had to take some this steroid, called dexamethasone. I'm pretty sure that dexamethasone is the thing that Dr. Jekyll took to turn into Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
Because it took my beautiful, sweet, loving little daughter and turned her into a beast. One night she'd fallen asleep early, and because of the radiation, she had to be under for the radiation, so she couldn't eat after 11 p.m. at night, which was normally not a problem. But she fell asleep early and she didn't have her bedtime snack, and the dexamethasone makes them very hungry. So she woke up about 1 and she said, "Mommy, I want some toast and peanut butter." And I said, "Oh, honey, you can't have it until the morning after we go to the magic lights, and then, take you wherever you want for breakfast." "Mommy, I want my toast and peanut butter now. You go to the kitchen and you make my toast and peanut butter." And we were staying with my brother and sister-in-law, and we were so fortunate that they lived in Calgary and we were able to stay with family. My sister-in-law, bless her, I love her to pieces. She needs her sleep. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, you're screaming, and she's screaming in the middle of the night. We're going to have to go to the Ronald McDonald house. Like, they're going to ask us to leave, and she started hitting me. And so I grabbed her and I put her back against my chest. I sat against the door. I put my legs around her legs and my arms around her arms. And then she's using her head to do this. And I sang and I prayed and I told her stories and I told her how much I loved her until she finally calmed down and got her back to sleep. So I thought, oh my goodness, the next morning is going to be hell on wheels. And got her in the car. Everything was great. Put on her favorite music, which was Great Big Sea. And, we're driving to the hospital on the Deerfoot through like crazy commuter traffic. So we had to be there at 8 a.m. And she's singing away in the back and everything's just back to normal. So when I was getting her out of her car seat, I just said, "Alexandra, how did I get so lucky to have such a beautiful little girl like you in my life?" And she goes, "Oh, Mommy, I chose you when I was still in heaven. My boys and I, we danced in your heart at your wedding,
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
That instantly made me cry.
sorry.
Oh,
And
I can't believe how beautiful that is, Patricia.
mhm,
Oh my goodness.
and she just was such an old soul. Well, she is an old soul, and sharing her stories, sharing the experiences, and how most of the time, that was basically one of just a few times where it was difficult because of how the medications were impacting her. But, slowing down and spending that time and listening to her and sharing with her and doing things with her, and just, we did little art things and I would read to her. And it was funny. I would always offer to read her own books, but she wanted me, I was reading Doreen Virtue's Healing with the Angels. Well, she wanted me to read her that. She wasn't interested in her books. She was such a trooper, all the way through to the end. At the end, a glioblastoma, it takes away, it shuts down all your systems. So, she turned 5, she had to be back in diapers. She couldn't hardly move. She couldn't walk. At the end, she couldn't talk. She couldn't swallow, but she still had that spark of life. She was cold all the time, and we had a hot tub just outside our back door. So it was January, and she was always cold. So if we could, we would take her out to the hot tub. And then that was the only time when she was warm and she'd be able to move a little bit because, the water gave her that buoyancy. So we're out in the hot tub. It's, I think, minus 23. And we're all out there. And there's an icicle on the side of the hot tub. And she grabbed it. And her dad wasn't looking at her, and she's like, starts rubbing it on his skin, and he kind of jumped. She was, even though she couldn't talk anymore, she could hardly move, she was still a think.
Yeah.
She still had her sense of humor, and right, to the very end. And so what I just learned so much about the way she went through this extremely tough time, and how she kept her loving, just being such a loving person. You know, she couldn't walk up and down the stairs. And the one day I was carrying her down the stairs from her room. Oh, I'm going to make myself cry. Sorry. And she said to me, "You're the best mommy ever." And I said, "Why do you say that, honey?" "Because you carry me up and down the stairs." I'm like, "You can't walk, you know, and yet you think I'm so, you know," just learning gratitude for just the little things, and appreciation. And then there's some more lessons that I learned about setting boundaries. And you know, people, bless their hearts, they were trying to be helpful, but you know, people were constantly sending me articles to read or things I should try, like, "You should make this seaweed smoothie for her." Okay, she's 5. I can't even get her to drink a milkshake or eat her chicken fingers or French fries, things that she absolutely loves. There's no way a seaweed smoothie is going down. So, you know, finally, and the problem is that when people are sending you all these suggestions, then it starts to make you feel like you're not doing enough. There's more you could be doing. So what I did was, finally, I just sent out to my email list. I just said, "Hey, you guys, like, I know your spirit of intent is good, but trust me, we've had the best doctors looking at this. Her case has been, you know, from the Mayo Clinic to all the children's hospitals. Everyone's looked at it. We've had the trial that's the best and newest and greatest chemotherapy. She was included in the trial, even though she didn't necessarily meet the parameters, because it was her best hope. So now we've chosen to just keep her at home. We've got palliative care, and we're just going to spend the time loving her." And so, you know, setting those boundaries and, you know, deciding what we wanted to do, and what was right for us, and letting people know what we needed and what we didn't need, was really another really big lesson. And for me, I do believe that, you know, we're human, like all life forms. We're on the same path. We're born and we die. And it's a matter of how long that journey is. So you have to make choices for yourself and do the things that you love to do, have the adventures, have the experiences, and spend the time with the people who bring you joy, who help you be the best person you can be in the time that you're here, because you don't want to have those regrets. Like, nobody regrets, you know, not working overtime when they're on their deathbed. They regret the time they didn't spend and the places they didn't see and the book they didn't write, you know? So those are the things that I learned.
Wow. Your journey. I can't talk too much because I'm going to start crying again. Oh my goodness. So where are you now in your life, Patricia?
Well, since, like I said, she passed in 2007. And I realized I hadn't been happy in my marriage for a very long time. But you know, the whole society thing, right? You think, well, if I leave now, people are going to think it's because of Alex, even though I haven't been married or haven't been happy for a long time. And well, what will people think? And what will, you know, and how will I be? And how about the boys? And finally, in 2011, I did leave. I am now remarried. I've been married for 3.5 years to my soulmate, the love of my life. I, you know, had to make that decision for me, for my sanity, for my well-being. I did, you know, go through some depression, but like what Alex taught me is life is too short not to live it for you. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, but you have to take care of yourself. You have to put yourself first, and you have to love yourself. I had to love myself enough to leave a situation that was not healthy for me. So now, I am married to the love of my life. I have a good relationship with the father of my children because I worked through all of that as well. My boys are healthy and happy, and the youngest still lives with us. And I actually, after the pandemic, started one of the things that I learned from the pandemic is I didn't want to go back to work anymore. So at 55, I retired from my corporate job, and now I spend all my time dedicated to Sparks of Healing. I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm a sound healer. I'm a channel. I'm an author. And for fun, it's all fun for me. I also do acrylic art. So now, instead of, dragging myself out of bed and I mean, I didn't hate my job, but I didn't love my job. It wasn't my passion. Now every day, what client am I seeing today? And helping people, really what I do in my business is help people learn to love themselves, get rid of the habits, identities, beliefs, blocks, whatever it is, so you can truly love yourself and live your life for you. So yeah, I am living my life with passion and with joy, and sharing my story, sharing my gifts, sharing my lessons, and I hope that they make a positive impact on the people that I'm sharing it with.
That's beautiful, Patricia. What is it that you want to share with others that you feel is so important that you want to get out into the world?
Well, number one, you are not alone. No matter what you're going through and how bad it feels, number one, you are not alone. It will get better. Whatever it is, there is an answer for you. There is a solution. Don't feel like you have to face something alone. Reach out to someone who can help you. Reach out to friends. And if you are a friend of someone who's going through something, especially a friend of somebody whose child is going through something, whether it's a disease like diabetes, or whether it's a fatal illness, reach out to them. You don't need to know the right things to say. You just need to know how to listen and how to love them. And that's enough. Don't shut down from them. Don't avoid them. And, if you know someone who's lost a child, please say their name. Her book, like I said, it's subtitled Adventures of the Ladybug Hunter. She loved ladybugs. She was afraid of bugs, but then her brothers convinced her that ladybugs are our friends. So, she would catch ladybugs, especially if the ones, where their wings are all askew. And so after she passed, ladybugs everywhere. I went back to work. She passed on January 27th of 2007. I went back to work in March. One of my girlfriends sent me this living bouquet, the plants. And so this is downtown Regina in winter. Our winters are not fun. They're brutal. In a high-rise office building. I take the cellophane off this plant and out crawls a ladybug. Crazy.
Yeah,
so
there.
Exactly. So, they're still around. There are signs, and friends would come forward and say, I saw a ladybug and I thought of Alex. I saw a dragonfly. Say their name. Let those people know what influence, what difference that person that you lost that made to their lives. That's super, super important. And also when it comes to grief, I say grief is not a straight line. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross long time ago laid out the stages of grief, but you don't go through that and then you're done. grief is more like a spiral. And, and you will go through those stages over and over again, especially when it's a child, or your spouse that you thought you had, the rest of your life with. You go through those stages again and again, and it does get easier, but it doesn't ever stop. And because you have that dream of what your future is going to be. I didn't get to pick out a grad dress. I will never get to walk her down the aisle. I will never get to see what her children would be like, so that grief, it never goes away. And there's nothing wrong with you that you still miss them. There's nothing wrong with you that you celebrate their birthday. There's nothing wrong. That's just part of it. And life doesn't go back to normal, after a certain period of time. It's a new normal that you're creating without them, and honoring them. This necklace is actually, it's a memory bead. And there's a beautiful lady in Regina called Laura Stedman, and she has a business called LJ Designs. And she takes the tiniest bit of ashes and incorporates them into the bead. And, I wear it, and it's just my way of connecting to her. And I know she's here. She sends me messages all the time, ladybugs or things happening or songs or, people reaching out when I just happen to be sad, people reaching out to say, hey, I thought of Alex today. Your grieving is a part, but I do believe with all my heart that your loved one wants you to remember them with joy and would want you to just go and live life, live life, learn from their lessons, and find gratitude and joy in every single day.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Patricia. I know this will definitely impact a lot of people out there. My final question that I do have for you is there any last words that you want to share with the audience? Or is there, just basically, is there any final words, any final thoughts that you want to share with us?
Well, I guess I'll quote Alex. It's good to laugh. So, find things that make you laugh, that bring you joy, and don't wait. Life is just simply too short to wait to do the things you love. And I know I'm repeating that, but that's really the biggest lesson. Do it now. Like, it's cliche, but eat the cake, go on the trip,
Live your life.
Yeah.
Experience joy, happiness.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
So you had mentioned that you wrote a book, and where can we find your book?
So my book is called Forever 5, Adventures of the Ladybug Hunter by Patricia Meier. It's available on Amazon, Indigo, Chapters Indigo. It's available actually on my website. I actually have a little map. It's available in some local stores here in Saskatchewan, as well as Penguin Books in Ottawa.
Oh, beautiful.
No, sorry, I'm sorry, it's not Penguin Books. Pardon me, that's a publisher. Octopus. Yeah, books in Ottawa. And of course, through me, I can also ship, sign, if you want it signed, I can sign it and ship it. And it's but it's everywhere.
That's beautiful. Just so our audience knows that all of your information, if they want to get a hold of you, that everything will be in the notes of the podcast. You also do energy healing, do you not?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
So can you explain a little bit more on that? And then if anybody wants to get a hold of you, like I said, everything will be in the notes of the podcast. So
absolutely. So I've been doing Reiki since the 90s. So I am a Reiki master. Sorry, all these sad stories. Reiki master healer. I teach Reiki. And I do something called soul alignment. It's kind of a combination of sound healing, energy, like Reiki healing, as well as cord cutting. I do sound healing, and most people, when you think of sound healing, they figure there's going to be some crystal bowls or, nope, it's with my voice. I actually channel sound, and the sound is different for each and every client. I joke that it's weird and wonderful because it is the strangest thing you've ever experienced, but but sound actually travels through, think about when you're at the beach, right? And somebody's way far away and they're talking, you can hear them as if they're right there. Well, our bodies are between 68 and 78% water. So sound goes through our bodies, carries through and vibrates our bodies. So sounds over your body is a very healing modality. And like I said, it's weird and wonderful, and I love it. And what else do? I channel. And I've also actually a part of a collaboration book called Hope for Humanity. Love is the Answer. Now, what was the question? By Bonnie Bogner. And there's 6 of us who did questions and answers in that book. So yes, I channel. And I think that's about it. I was a workshop junkie for a long time, and I learned a ton of modalities. And then I just started putting them together and offering them. And I can do things remotely or in person. And then, of course, I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. And I specialize, my favorite thing to do is regression. So past life regression or interlife regression. And interlife, briefly, is the lives between lives. So where we go to plan our next life, to see how we're doing. It's quite the journey. I say I'm your hypnotic tour guide, taking you to places that you need to go to do the work you need to do. So
That's wonderful.
Mhm.
Patricia, thank you so much for this wonderful interview. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. You definitely made me cry.
Sorry.
And no, that's okay. That's okay. So I am so happy that you were my guest. And thank you so much for everything. And thank you for being a part of my journey.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you for letting me share my story. And I said my daughter was only here for 5 years, but she's impacted so many lives. And by sharing her story, by sharing her book, she's just continuing to impact so many lives in a positive way. And and I'm just really happy to be able to be the messenger of her story, and of course my own lessons and stories, and hope they help make other people's lives just that much better.
Well, I think they definitely will, for sure. So thank you for spending the time with me.
Thank you.